So the story starts with me growing up in India with a family of three, mom, dad, and I have no siblings. I was a good kid in school. I was average at everything, but I contributed in everything, sports and everything. I had tons of friends. Like I was very popular, and I was always trying to find satisfaction in them. And for some reason, I was just not able to find it. For some reason, I was always falling short of pleasing my friends and pleasing the girls I liked. And whenever like I found a girlfriend, it was still like very empty. Like I could never find satisfaction. So I grew up in a Hindu family with a little bit Sikhism in it. And I was going to the temple every day, going to the Sikh temple every day. Like I used to pray to the God. And there was always this one-way conversation going on, like a monologue. And I just couldn't get answers. I was always praying and nothing was coming back. I I was just feeling this emptiness in my heart, and I just felt no satisfaction. I was like, I don't know what's going on with my life. In grade 8, I joined this program where you meditate, you do yoga, and you serve people. And I loved serving people. Like there was something in me which loved serving people, and I was always happy doing it. I did that for like 3 or 4 years, and all of a sudden I just found myself questioning all what I was doing again. I was like, I don't know, like I am not able to figure out this because I don't feel satisfaction, and whatever I'm getting here is just not fulfilling. So fast forward to grade 12, I was not a really good student, and my mom was really worried about me because in India in grade 12, if you don't score good, you're not going to a good college, so you're not getting a good job, and your life is done. So my mom was really worried about me, and she was at her friend's house, and they were like having like a party, and my mom overheard a conversation, and the conversation was about church. Like her friend was talking to another friend. Oh, like I go to this church and people get healed, and like I got healed. There's just so much peace in my life. And my mom was like, I want that. Like my mom really like jumped upon the idea of getting healed and peace, and so she came home with that idea. Dad and I just shut down the idea right away. We were like, no, like we don't want to go to a church. Like no, because I grew up in a Catholic school. Like I went to school, a Christian school, so I was like, I know everything. I know like they have big buildings, like they have the Jesus photo there. Like I don't want to go. Like mom, I don't want to go because in my heart I felt like I was betraying my program. I had joined. I was betraying my guru. But mom being mom forced dad and I to go to the church. So we went to the church, and when I entered in, it was very surprising because it was not like big buildings with a big cross and candles like we see in the movies. It was just like a room, and people worshiping God. People like had their hands up, and someone was reading, and I was like, "Oh, this is very interesting. I had never seen that before." But after that, I thought I'm done. Like I don't want to come to this church again because I'm just gonna do what I was doing with the program, meditate, and just be peaceful. But something in me was very like struck when I saw that. So those weeks went by, and dad and I had no interest to go back to church. My mom's friend invited us to a prophecy meeting, and we were like, what is prophecy? Like we don't know what prophecy is. So according to Christian theology, prophecy is like a person getting words or knowledge from God about the future or their present. We went to the meeting. It was a Saturday, I think, and in the evening, and the guy just showed up. The guy who was doing prophecy, he looked like a normal dude. He was wearing shirts and pants, and he was not wearing any fancy attire. And I was like, where is your fancy tunic? Like where what's the thing you wear? Like where it is? And he started saying stuff all of a sudden. He started prophesizing for people. And for example, like he was like, oh, you have this problem from 17 years, and Jesus is going to solve that problem. And I'm going to give you the proof that you fell on stairs like last week. And I was like, what? Like, this is so weird. Like, this is bizarre. And initially I thought this is all fake, that people are paying each other money, and this is all for commercial purposes. Because like on Facebook, I used to see all those videos of fake prophecies and everything, and I didn't want to believe in it. So the meeting kept going for like 30 minutes. In 30 minutes, I was like, this is not seeming fake anymore. People are genuinely crying. People are genuinely so surprised, and like there's something going on which is not fake. in my heart, I was praying, God, if this is from you, I want a prophecy right now. By the end of the meeting, he said, there's a woman sitting here who has cysts in her uterus, and Jesus is gonna heal her tonight. And he said that her age is between 30 and 40, and I knew my mom had that. And all of a sudden, my like antenna like went up, and we went home. Mom, dad, and I, we were like, I think he was talking about you. And she was like, I think so too. And she got a scan in 2 weeks. We got the report, and there were no cysts. Like, Jesus healed her, or what he said what happened. Like, she was healed totally. And that was the moment when we were like, there is something in this world, in my life, who healed my mother. There's something who's talking to people and cares for like small things. So I started wrestling with this question in my heart, that who healed my mom? Like, what is going on? And I was always amused by this stuff because I always believed in God, but I could never see him working in my life. I was just saying stuff, but it was not happening. But this time, this person called Jesus healed my mother. So we started going to church every Sunday. The preacher preached the gospel that the God came in the form of Jesus and died for my sins, my like Raghav's sins. So everything I did is wiped away if I believe in him. That made sense to me because the Bible says that Jesus got beatings for me, Jesus died for me. And I had a fight in grade 11, and like a bunch of guys came to beat me up, and there was one of my friends who tried to stop them and got beat up for me. So he took the majority of the slaps and whatever, and I love him because he did that for me. Like, we don't talk, but like I still, in my heart, I love him. So I was like, if this is true, if Jesus really, really died for me, for my sins, like how much, like the implications of that is a lot more than my friend getting beatings for me. So I started reading my Bible, and my pastor gave me this really, really basic English GNB Bible, and like the grammar doesn't even make sense. And so I was reading through the stories of Jesus, and I was just falling in love with this man who healed people, who loved people, who broke all the barriers. Because throughout my whole life, I was trying to earn God's love, but here Jesus was coming towards me. I don't have to do anything. Like I was like, okay, I'm here. Like Jesus is just coming towards us. And that really struck me because I always used to think Jesus was this white person from North America, but I came to know that he is a brown person from the Middle East, Israel. And that was like a big ringer in my head. And the fact that Christianity came to India through one of Jesus' disciples, his name is Thomas, in 50 AD, and not by the British in 1900s. That was a big thing because in India we always think that British brought Christianity to India and they convert people, but that was 2,000 years ago when it happened. So I fell in love with Jesus, and I was trying to become closer to God, and there were still some things which were like pulling me back, and I knew that I had to change them, but I was like, no, I don't want to, like, because we love those things. I was like, I don't want to change those things. And one day I woke up, everything was stolen. My wallet was gone, my phone was gone, my belongings were gone, and I was just like, okay, I don't know what's going on. I called my mom. I was like, Mom, this happened. And she was like, when did it happen? I was like, around 4 a.m. She was like, I had a dream at 4 a.m. that this happened. I was like, what? And that day, like, I was like, okay, Jesus, you are real. I give my life to you. I'm all in. Use me. Do whatever you want to. I just want to live for you. I was praying for my friend. He was not getting a visa to go study in Canada. And it was like 3 times he applied for it. And this was the 4th time. So I was praying for him before sleeping. And I was like, Jesus, please help him get a visa. So he can just go. And I heard a voice in Hindi, visa nahi lagega, that he won't get a visa. I was like, what? Like, why am I hearing this? And it was so not me and not my brain. You can tell, like, when it's your thought, and it was just a random voice, and it just gave me chills, and I was just sitting there. So I prayed. I was like, please let him get a visa. No, Jesus, please let him get a visa. And I went back to sleep, And the next day I called him and I was like, I had this weird like voice telling me that you won't get a visa. And he was like, oh, I don't know yet. Like I didn't get a result yet. So I met him in the evening and he told me that, hey, I lied to you. I got my results last night and I got rejected. I was like, oh, like, sorry, but I heard a right voice. Like, that's amazing. And but the good news is he went to Atlanta and he's doing his Bible study degree there. So everything was for good. And one day I was just praying with this person and he was like, God is going to use you. And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, you're going to serve God. I was like, okay. And then that happened another time. Then another time, a pastor came from Atlanta and he was praying for me. Never known him ever before. He like grabbed my hands and he was like, God is going to use these hands. I was like, okay. So that happened like 5 times. And all of a sudden I had this decision to either go to Canada or stay in India. It was a really hard decision to make because I didn't know what I was doing with my life. And my dad really wanted me to go because he felt that it was good for me. I just felt this peace of going to Canada. And there's this Bible verse called Jeremiah 29:11. It's out of context, but it says like, he has plans for your future, not to harm you, but to prosper you. And that verse just kept popping up everywhere. In my phone, people were talking to me about it randomly. And I just knew that it was okay to go. So came to Canada and hit rock bottom. I just became really depressed. I was sharing a room with a bunch of guys. They were good guys, but I was just not able to get my space. And I was just really missing my family, really missing companionship and like just love. So one day I prayed, I was like, Jesus, I want to live with a family who has like people living in there, and I want to live with a church family so I can grow in my faith. And I had these like bucket lists, and it was literally like a list. I was praying, and I just stopped thinking about it. One day I had a coffee with one of my pastors from our church, and I was just telling him all my situation of being depressed and being really sad. And randomly after 2-3 weeks, he just texted me. He was like, come live with me. I was like, okay. So I moved, and as soon as I came in, it was all the bucket list I had. Like all the things I had in the bucket list got answered. So Jesus provided for me in that way when I came to Canada, and he's been still very faithful. So presently, life has been good. Being a student and working is hard, so it's been really ups and downs, and I've had to struggle with anxiety a lot. But God's been still very good in my anxiety. He's given me peace, and He's been there for me. And He's provided me with these amazing people who I can go to and who I can just pour my heart out. If you're like me, I just want you to know that it is okay to doubt, and it is okay to struggle with questions, because I struggle with those too. And I want you to know that Jesus died for you and me, and He is real because He's worked in my life, and He changed me completely from a person who's seeking attention to a person who is rested in his identity in Jesus. And He loves you. There's a verse in the Bible, taste and see that the Lord is good. So I want you to taste and see. Just try it for yourself. It's nothing pressure, but just taste and see that the Lord is good.